Jedidiah Murphy was executed by the state of Texas on October 10, 2023. His death marked a somber moment in the ongoing history of capital punishment in the United States. He was 48 years old at the time of his execution. His life ended decades after the crime for which he was convicted. The crime occurred in the year 2000. It was a brutal act that led to his death sentence. The offense involved robbery, a shooting, and the drowning of the victim. The details are disturbing and difficult to recount. The victim was identified as 80-year-old Birdie Lee Cunningham. Her life was tragically taken in this violent encounter. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The events unfolded in October 2000. The location was Garland, Texas. Murphy encountered Birdie Lee Cunningham and forced her to give him a ride. He used a gun to compel her. He then forced the elderly woman into the trunk of her own car. This act alone speaks to the terror she must have experienced. While she was confined in the trunk, Murphy shot her. This was a horrific escalation of the crime. After the shooting, he drove the car to another county. He was attempting to conceal his actions. He then drowned the victim in a creek. This final act ensured her death and compounded the brutality. Following the murder, Murphy used the victim's credit cards. This demonstrated a callous disregard for her life and property. Jedidiah Murphy was 25 years old when he committed this crime. His youth at the time is a factor often considered in such cases, though it does not diminish the gravity of his actions. He was primarily raised in foster care. This background is often cited in discussions about his life trajectory. Research has indicated a correlation between a history in foster care and increased rates of adult crime and violence. This is a societal issue with complex roots. Murphy's upbringing lacked stability and consistent support. This is a common challenge faced by children in the foster care system. Despite his difficult background, his actions were inexcusable. The suffering he inflicted cannot be justified by his past. Jedidiah Murphy identified as Jewish. This aspect of his identity became more prominent during his time on death row. He received a belated bar mitzvah while incarcerated. This spiritual milestone occurred late in his life. Throughout his appeals, Murphy expressed sincere remorse for his actions. He stated this repeatedly in various contexts. He claimed he woke up to the reality of his crime daily with profound remorse. This suggests a deep internal struggle. According to his lawyers, Murphy had a history of mental illness and child abuse. These factors were presented as part of his defense and mitigation. Jedidiah Murphy was sentenced to death in Texas. The state has a long history of carrying out capital punishment. A death sentence in Texas requires the jury to find that the defendant poses a future danger to society. This is a critical component of the sentencing phase. Murphy's lawyers contested the evidence used by the state to prove this future dangerousness. They argued it was unreliable or improperly presented. The evidence included alleged prior robberies and a kidnapping. Murphy consistently denied involvement in these specific incidents. Questionable identification linked Murphy to one of these prior crimes. This raised doubts about the certainty of the state's claims. His lawyers sought DNA testing of trial evidence. They believed this testing could potentially undermine the state's case regarding future dangerousness or even guilt in the prior incidents. Prosecutors argued that DNA testing was only relevant for proving guilt or innocence of the capital crime itself. They contended it was not applicable to the sentencing phase or the issue of future dangerousness. Prosecutors also called the timing of the appeal for DNA testing manipulative. They suggested it was a delay tactic. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals initially upheld a stay of execution. This stay was granted to allow for the requested DNA testing. However, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Fifth Circuit's stay. This decision cleared the way for the execution to proceed. Murphy's lawyers filed further appeals based on the safety of the lethal injection drugs. This is a common challenge in death penalty cases. They argued the drugs potentially could have been damaged. This concern arose from heat and smoke exposure during a recent fire at the prison unit. The Supreme Court denied this final appeal regarding drug safety. With this denial, all legal avenues were exhausted. The execution was carried out by lethal injection. It took place in Huntsville, Texas, the state's death chamber location. Jedidiah Murphy was pronounced dead at 10:15 p.m. This marked the official end of his life. His last words included an apology to the victim's family. He expressed hope that his death would bring them some measure of closure. While strapped to the gurney, he recited Psalm 34. This was a final act reflecting his faith. He also spoke briefly to a friend who was present. He mentioned his wife, referring to her as Bella. As the drug took effect, he appeared to go to sleep. This is the intended effect of the initial drug administered. A pastor was present in the execution chamber. The pastor prayed with him and placed a hand on him during his final moments. Jedidiah Murphy's case highlights the complexities inherent in capital punishment. It forces a confrontation with difficult questions about justice, punishment, and human life. The case underscores the ongoing debate between the concepts of remorse and forgiveness versus retribution. Society grapples with how to balance these competing ideas. His execution occurred on World Day Against the Death Penalty. This timing was noted by opponents of capital punishment as particularly poignant or ironic. The case highlights the declining public support for and use of capital punishment in the United States. While still practiced, its frequency and acceptance have waned over the decades. Murphy's execution was the sixth carried out by the state of Texas in 2023. Texas remains the most active state in the nation regarding executions. His execution was the 20th in the United States in 2023. This number reflects the relatively low frequency of executions nationwide compared to past eras. The story of Jedidiah Murphy, from a troubled youth to a convicted murderer expressing remorse on death row, serves as a stark reminder of the profound human cost on all sides of the death penalty debate. It compels us to reflect on the systems that lead individuals to such points and the ultimate power the state holds over life and death.